why the European Mocro Mafia went from hash to coke. Discover the true story behind the shift of Mocro Mafia from hash to coke and the impact it had on their organization and the world at large. From the dangerous game of drug trafficking to the corruption that followed, we'll take you on a journey through the dark side of the Mocro Mafia. This is a story you won't want to miss, so tune in and uncover the truth for yourself. The history of the European hashish market can be traced back to the 1960s and 1970s, when the drug became popular among young people in Europe. In the early days, hashish was primarily imported from North Africa and the Middle East and was sold through informal networks. As the market for hashish grew, criminal organizations began to take over the trade. One of the main groups to emerge in this period was the Mocro Mafia, which had its roots in the Netherlands. The group began importing and distributing hashish throughout Europe and quickly became the dominant player in the market. The Mocro Mafia's success was due to a combination of factors. They had established connections in North Africa and the Middle East, which allowed them to secure a steady supply of high-quality hashish. They also had a well-organized distribution network, with different cells operating in different parts of Europe. Another factor that contributed to the Mocro Mafia's dominance of the hash market was their willingness to use violence to protect their interests. They would often intimidate or eliminate rival drug dealers and were known for their ruthless tactics. Today, the market for hashish has declined, but the Mocro Mafia continues to be a major player in the European drug trade, having shifted their focus to cocaine. The demand for hashish in Europe has declined in recent years due to a number of factors. One of the main reasons for the decline is the growing popularity of other drugs, particularly cocaine and synthetic drugs like MDMA and methamphetamine. Cocaine in particular has become increasingly popular among European drug users, with many people shifting away from hashish and towards the more potent and addictive drug. This has led to a decrease in demand for hashish as people are no longer as interested in using the drug. Another factor contributing to the decline in the demand for hashish is increased law enforcement efforts to combat drug trafficking. Governments across Europe have implemented tougher drug laws and increased law enforcement resources, making it harder for criminal organizations to operate in the region. Finally, changes in consumer preferences also have played a role in the decline of the hashish market. Younger generations in Europe are less likely to use traditional drugs like hashish and are more interested in experimenting with new substances like synthetic drugs and designer drugs. The European cocaine market has seen a significant rise in popularity in recent years, with an increased number of people using the drug across the continent. There are several factors that have contributed to the growing popularity of cocaine in Europe. One of the main drivers of the cocaine market is the drug's highly addictive nature. Cocaine produces a powerful and intense high that is highly sought after by recreational drug users. The drug's ability to induce euphoria, increase energy levels, and create feelings of confidence and invincibility has contributed to its popularity. Another factor contributing to the rise of the cocaine market is the increased globalization of drug trafficking networks. Criminal organizations are now able to transport drugs more easily and quickly across borders, leading to an increase in the availability of cocaine in Europe. The changing demographics of drug users in Europe have also contributed to the rise of the cocaine market. Younger generations are more likely to experiment with different drugs, and the growing acceptance of drug use in some social circles has led to an increase in demand for cocaine. Cocaine is generally more profitable than hashish for criminal organizations like the Mocro Mafia for several reasons. Firstly, cocaine is a more expensive drug than hashish, which means that the criminal organizations can make more money per unit sold. The high demand for cocaine in Europe also means that there is a larger market for the drug, which further contributes to its profitability. Another factor that makes cocaine more lucrative is the fact that it is more addictive than hashish. Cocaine users are more likely to become dependent on the drug and require more frequent purchases, leading to repeat business for drug dealers. This creates a more reliable source of income for criminal organizations. Cocaine is also easier to transport and conceal than hashish. Cocaine can be compressed into small packages that are easy to conceal, making it easier for criminal organizations to transport the drug across borders without being detected by law enforcement officials. Finally, cocaine is associated with a higher level of status and prestige than hashish, which means that it can attract wealthier customers who are willing to pay a premium for the drug. This means that criminal organizations can charge higher prices for cocaine, further increasing their profits. The hashish market in Europe has become increasingly competitive in the recent years, with other criminal organizations competing with the Mocro Mafia for a share of the profits. This increased competition has had a significant impact on the Mocro Mafia's profits from the hashish trade. One of the main effects of increased competition has been a decrease in the price of hashish. Other criminal organizations have been able to flood the market with cheaper and lower quality hashish, forcing the Mocro Mafia to lower their prices in order to remain competitive. This has led to a decrease in profits for the Mocro Mafia. Another impact of competition has been an increase in violence and turf wars between criminal organizations. The Mocro Mafia has been involved in violent clashes with other criminal groups as they try to protect their territory and maintain control over the hashish trade. This violence has led to an increase in law enforcement scrutiny and a decrease in public support for the Mocro Mafia. Finally, increased competition has led the Mocro Mafia to diversify their criminal activities, including a shift towards more profitable cocaine trade. By moving away from hashish and towards cocaine, the Mocro Mafia has been able to maintain their profits and compete with other criminal organizations. South American drug cartels, particularly those based in Colombia and Peru, have played a significant role in the global cocaine trade. These organizations are responsible for the production and trafficking of large quantities of cocaine that are then distributed to the markets around the world, including Europe. The presidents of South American drug cartels has had a significant impact on the supply and price of cocaine. These organizations have been able to produce large quantities of the drug at a relatively low cost, thanks to the favorable climate and geography of the region in which they operate. The high levels of production by South American drug cartels has led to a glut of cocaine in the market, which has helped to keep the prices relatively low. This has made cocaine more accessible to a wider range of customers, leading to an increase in demand for the drug. At the same time, South American drug cartels have also been responsible for a significant amount of violence and instability in the regions in which they operate. This violence has had a significant impact on local communities and has also led to increased law enforcement efforts to combat drug trafficking. The Mocro Mafia has been able to establish connections with South American drug cartels in order to gain access to the lucrative cocaine trade. These relationships have been built over time and are based on mutual benefit and a shared interest in the drug trade. One way that the Mocro Mafia has been able to establish these connections is through their existing networks in Europe. The Mocro Mafia has long been involved in the hashish trade, and their existing connections with other criminal organizations in Europe have given them the opportunity to establish relationships with South American drug cartels. Another way that the Mocro Mafia has been able to establish connections is through the use of intermediaries or middlemen. These individuals are often trusted members of the criminal organization who have established relationships with South American drug cartels, who are able to facilitate the purchase and transportation of cocaine to Europe. Finally, the Mocro Mafia has been able to establish connections through the use of violence and intimidation. The organization has been known to use force to gain control of the drug trade in certain areas, and this has helped them to establish themselves as a powerful player in the drug trade. Cocaine is much easier to smuggle and conceal compared to hashish. This is because cocaine is a much more potent drug and requires much less space to transport the same amount of drugs. In addition, cocaine can be easily cut and processed into different forms, such as powder or liquid, making it easier to conceal. Cocaine is typically transported in bulk through sea or air routes, with traffickers often using sophisticated methods to conceal the drugs. This can include the use of specially modified shipping containers, hidden compartments in vehicles or airplanes, or even using human couriers who swallow small quantities of the drug. In contrast, hashish is a bulky and less potent drug which requires much larger amounts of space to transport. This makes it more difficult to conceal and often requires traffickers to use larger vehicles or shipping containers. Hashish is typically transported over land routes, with traffickers often using less sophisticated methods to conceal the drugs. This can include hiding the drugs in food or other household items, or simply covering them in a layer of everyday materials to avoid detection. Law enforcement authorities have been working to disrupt the operations of the Mocro Mafia and dismantle their criminal networks. This has involved a range of strategies, including cooperation between law enforcement agencies across different countries, the use of intelligence gathering and surveillance techniques, and the implementation of stricter laws and regulations. One key approach has been to target the financial networks that support the Mocro Mafia's criminal operations. This has involved freezing and seizing assets and financial transactions, which can disrupt the organization's ability to move money and carry out their criminal activities. Another approach has been to target key individuals within the Mocro Mafia's network, including high-level members and middlemen who are involved in drug trafficking and other criminal activities. This can involve the use of undercover operations, surveillance, and targeted arrests to disrupt the organization's leadership and infrastructure. In addition, law enforcement agencies have been working to increase cooperation and information sharing across different countries in order to better track and disrupt the flow of drugs and criminal activities across borders. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to our channel for more great content. And don't forget to hit the bell icon to get notified when we upload new videos. See you in the next one.